The story begins in 1895, when an immigrant couple is stopped from entering Manhattan because they have tuberculosis. The couple has a young son, and they plead with the guard to allow their child to stay in Manhattan, even if they cannot. However, the guard refuses their request. Heartbroken and desperate, the couple returns to their ship, the City of Justice. There, the father notices a small model of the ship. In a moment of hope and despair, he places his baby in the model ship and sets it adrift in the sea. The story picks up in 1916, where the baby, now grown, is named Peter and lives as a thief. Peter has been raised by a supernatural demon named Pearly, who controls a gang of criminals. One day, Peter decides he no longer wants to be part of Pearly's gang and resolves to leave. However, this decision makes him a target. Pearly and his gang turn against Peter, forcing him to flee. Peter narrowly escapes as Pearly's gang chases him through the streets. At one point, he finds himself cornered, with guns aimed at him. Believing his life is over, Peter notices a white horse standing at the edge of the street. In desperation, Peter calls out to the horse. To his astonishment, the horse responds, bowing its head as if to acknowledge him. Peter quickly climbs onto the horse's back. The horse, seemingly no ordinary creature, leaps high into the air, soaring over the gang and carrying Peter to safety. As they escape, Peter, awed by the horse's extraordinary abilities, wonders aloud, "What kind of creature are you?" The scene shifts to Beverly Penn, a young woman suffering from tuberculosis. Beverly visits an eye doctor to get glasses. During her appointment, the doctor mentions that his sister also died of tuberculosis, prompting a deep conversation between them. Meanwhile, Peter seeks refuge with a friend who informs him that Pearly has tripled the reward for capturing him. Peter asks his friend for food for himself and the horse, explaining that the horse saved his life. After feeding the horse and ensuring it is securely tied, Peter heads to the attic of his friend's home. There, he retrieves a tag bearing the name City of Justice from a small box. He stares at it thoughtfully before placing it back into the box. One of Pearly's men goes to his office and informs him that everyone has been notified about the reward for Peter. Pearly then asks, "And what reward has been placed on the horse?" The man replies, "The horse's reward is as high as Peter's. It seems a bit excessive for just a horse." Pearly smirks and responds, "That's because it's not just a horse, it's a dog." Confused, the man asks, "Why are you so eager to kill Peter all of a sudden? Wasn't he your best thief?" Pearly dismisses the question, saying he doesn't want to discuss it. "Peter is human, but that horse will lead us straight to him," he asserts. Pearly looks at the moon and uses his magical gems, which reveal Peter's location. He orders his men to capture Peter and bring the horse. Meanwhile, Peter is at Grand Central Station. Pearly's gang arrives but fails to locate him. Elsewhere, Beverly Penn's younger sister, Vila, visits her and shares that everyone plans to visit the lake tomorrow. Beverly says she will come a day later so their father can prepare her tent, allowing her to sleep under the stars. When Vila becomes emotional, Beverly reassures her, saying, "Life isn't in our hands, it's like a grand dance where we play our parts before heading to the sky to become stars." The next day, Peter prepares to leave with his horse, but the horse stops in front of a house and refuses to move despite Peter's urging. Frustrated but curious, Peter dismounts. The house belongs to Beverly Penn, who is battling a fever. While Beverly soothes herself in the cold water of a fountain, Peter enters the house and begins inspecting it. He finds a locker and starts to open it, but is distracted by the sound of a piano. He follows the music and finds Beverly playing. As she notices him, Beverly stops and asks, "What are you doing here?" Peter admits, "I came to steal, but I don't intend to anymore." Beverly makes tea for him, and they exchange stories. She shares her struggle with illness and loneliness, while Peter reveals his own troubles. The two feel a deep connection and fall in love. Beverly eventually asks Peter to leave. As he steps outside, he turns to his horse and asks, "Why did you put me in such a situation?" Then he rides away. Later, Beverly, frustrated with life, goes to a pub with friends. After drinking heavily, she angrily exclaims that the stars are reserved for good people and there's no room left for the rest. Meanwhile, Pearly, enraged and determined, unleashes his evil side. He brutally slits a waiter's throat and paints a portrait of Beverly with the waiter's blood. Holding up the painting, he declares, This girl is Peter's destiny. Find her, and you'll find him. As Beverly heads to the lake, her driver, secretly Peter's ally, helps her evade Pearlie's men. Peter consults a trusted friend, seeking advice. "Should I leave the city or go to Beverly?" he asks. His friend replies, "There's a miracle hidden within all of us. Destiny supports us and sends guides to help us, like your white horse. Maybe this girl is your destiny, and the miracle within you is meant for her. But beware, even evil has its creatures." Beverly encounters Pearlie, who confronts her and begins recounting Peter's story. He reveals how he raised Peter as his own, but despised him for being good-hearted. "Only Peter can save you," Pearlie says darkly, "and if he fails, my purpose will be fulfilled." Before Pearlie can act, Peter arrives on the horse and whisks Beverly away. Pearlie screams in fury and orders his men to give chase. As Pearlie closes in, Peter decides to take a daring leap off a mountain to escape. Beverly, terrified, begs him not to, but just as they leap, a miracle occurs. The horse reveals its magnificent wings and soars into the air, landing safely on the ground below. Pearlie halts, defeated, while Peter and Beverly escape. Peter takes Beverly to meet his family and sits with her father, answering his probing questions. By the end of their conversation, Peter wins the father's trust and approval. One night, Peter and Beverly walk together in the moonlit jungle, talking intimately. Peter gently teaches Beverly how to control her heartbeat, guiding her with his calm voice and presence. Beverly follows his instructions and, to her surprise, successfully steadies her pulse. Their connection deepens as they share these quiet, transformative moments. Later, back at the mansion, Peter sketches a portrait of Beverly, capturing her ethereal beauty. Willa arrives and excitedly takes Beverly to a surprise. A princess bed she's lovingly prepared for her sister. Peter promises Willa that he will do everything in his power to save Beverly. Meanwhile, Pearlie travels to meet Lucifer, seeking permission to head north and continue his pursuit of Peter and Beverly. Despite Pearlie's impassioned plea, Lucifer dismisses his request, maintaining the ban that prevents Pearlie from leaving his designated area. Pearlie seethes with frustration, but vows to find another way. Back at the mansion, a malfunctioning furnace poses a serious threat. Peter quickly sends Beverly to a neighboring house while he and her father work together to fix the furnace. They successfully repair it, saving the mansion. Beverly's father, deeply grateful, hugs Peter and begins to see him as more than just a suitor for his daughter. On New Year's Eve, Peter and Beverly attend a festive dance. They leave their table briefly to join the dance floor, unaware that one of Pearlie's men has slipped poison into Beverly's drink. When they return, Beverly drinks from the tainted glass. Later that night, Peter visits Beverly in her room. They share a tender moment, confessing their deepest feelings for one another. But as they embrace, Beverly suddenly collapses, her health deteriorating rapidly. Panicked, Peter carries her outside into the cold night air and places her on the princess bed Willa had prepared. Desperately, he begs Beverly to hold on, pleading with her not to leave him. Despite his pleas, Beverly succumbs to her illness and dies in Peter's arms. Heartbroken, Peter stays by her side until morning, when her funeral is held. Crushed by grief, Peter returns to Grand Central Station, aimless and lost. Pearlie hears of Beverly's death and sees it as an opportunity to confront Peter. Tracking him down, Pearlie approaches Peter, a smug smile on his face. "You lost," he sneers. "You couldn't save her, and you dared to leave my gang." Pearlie's voice grows darker as he continues. "Do you know how many miracles I've destroyed in this world? Do you think God created evil for no reason? Perhaps even he craves the thrill of a good war." As Pearlie's gang surrounds Peter, the white horse is captured in a net. Peter fights fiercely against the gang, desperately trying to free his companion. In a daring moment, Peter commands the horse to escape. The horse, breaking free, spreads its wings and flies away into the night. Pearlie overpowers Peter in the fight, beating him mercilessly before throwing him off a bridge into the icy river below. Peter's unconscious body washes ashore and he stumbles into a nearby graveyard, disoriented and broken. There, a stranger approaches and asks, "Whose grave are you searching for?" Peter, clutching his head, replies in a whisper, "I don't remember anything." The pain of losing true love can be so profound that it erases all memories. Yet even in despair there is hope. that destiny may eventually reunite you with your purpose. The story shifts to New York City in 2014. Peter is sketching an image of a woman resembling Beverly with chalk, asking aloud, "Who are you?" Wandering through the park, he meets a curious little girl, Abby. She asks for his name, and Peter admits he doesn't remember it. Abby points to the stars and muses that they all have names, though she can't recall them either. Abby's mother, Virginia, arrives and takes her away. Peter, staring at the night sky, feels a faint connection to something lost. Returning home, he opens a box containing the tag from the City of Justice ship and places it on a table. He then writes Peter Lake on a mirror, rediscovering his identity. Meanwhile, Pearlie, still hunting Peter, realizes through his enchanted gems that Peter is alive. Pearlie grows increasingly determined, convinced they killed the wrong girl all those years ago. Peter meets Virginia again, and she helps him search for historical records. Among the archives, Peter finds a photograph of Beverly, sparking a flood of memories. Virginia introduces Peter to Willa, now an elderly woman. Willa leads them back to the same mansion where Peter and Beverly shared New Year's Eve. At the mansion, Peter sits at the table where he once drank tea with Beverly. Willa, sensing his inner turmoil, tells him, "You haven't changed, Peter. You still have a purpose, to do what hasn't yet been done." She leaves him to ponder her words. Peter takes Abby and Virginia to the rooftop, where the white horse awaits. They mount the horse and escape, flying north to the mansion. Pearlie, now mortal, follows them, ready to settle the score. At the mansion, Pearlie challenges Peter to a fight. Before the battle begins, Peter whispers to the horse, "You know what to do." The horse gallops away, then returns, melting the snow with its radiant presence. Pearlie's gang is swept away in the flood, leaving Peter and Pearlie to face off alone. The fight is brutal, with Pearlie beating Peter relentlessly. But Peter, clutching the tag from the City of Justice, channels his strength and strikes Pearlie. Pearlie's body turns to ice and shatters, ending his reign of terror. As the battle concludes, Abby stops breathing. Desperate, Peter places her on the princess bed and kisses her forehead. For a moment, all hope seems lost. But then, Abby opens her eyes and calls out, "Mom!" Peter's miracle is complete. In his final act, Peter visits Beverly's grave. Mounting the white horse, he ascends into the night sky, becoming a brilliant star among the heavens.